Hey everyone, it's Stephanie again, and you are tuned into the review of Married at First Sight, Season 8, Episode 13. So we are down to the last episode next week, okay? We made it, you guys. This was a tough season. For sure, it was tough for all of us, but we made it. Second to last episode, review, starting now. So, this episode, everyone kind of met with each other and discussed decision day and how they felt and what they were thinking, and they also got to meet with some family and friends and get that insight. So let's kick it off with Jasmine and Will. Jasmine met with two of her friends and basically was unsure. I think Jasmine is starting to realize that although she wants this really bad, and she's working hard for it, and she sees similarities. She brings up, we both want children, etc. She sees some obvious disparities where she mentioned energy level. Her energy level is like up here, and Will's is down here, and their lack of intimacy and their communication, which has improved from both of their ends, but still is something that has not been really easy for them to do. So in that dinner, I saw Jasmine having an aha moment, almost like, okay, no matter how bad I want this, this may not be what I need to have. And she didn't really say that, but her body language gave me that, and her interaction with her friends. And her friends were just kind of, being supportive and asking, is this right for you? What are the pros? What are the cons? And so we really got to see them have that conversation. Her and Will talked as well. And, I think the name of the game with the whole show is really putting these conversations out there but not really having them. And so they both kind of talk about, we've made some strides and there's room for improvement, and they have this nice dinner and talk about kind of the places that they're in. What Will says doesn't really line up with his actions. He says that he really wants to be with someone and he cares about Jasmine, and he might on a human level, but there is nothing that leads to a long-term situation here. And one of the things that stuck out to me when he was walking her out of the restaurant after they had dinner, one of the things that he says in the confessional, but I think it was just over that scene, was like a voiceover over that scene, was him saying he just wants to make sure that they make the best decision and that he makes a decision that keeps her happy, or her happiness is priority. So right there for me, that was like a big red flag, because that's like the lead into, oh, it's not you, it's me. That's the lead into that line. It should be about both of your happinesses, but him saying, her happiness is what he's most concerned about, is, to me, it just sounds like the setup for, I don't think I'm going to make you happy. Instead of taking ownership and saying, I really care about you as a person, but I just don't see this having longevity. So we're seeing that I would not be surprised if he says no. So that is Jasmine and Will. My prediction for Jasmine and Will, it's hard to say because I don't necessarily see it long term, but you just never know what people are going to say on decision day. But I'm going to go with, I don't see them staying together. So, that's Jasmine and Will. Next, we have AJ and Stephanie. AJ and Stephanie, if anybody has noticed, they really haven't spent much time together with family. They've had some friends, but I don't really see family around. I don't know if their family's like out of town or whatnot, but with the other couples, we have seen pretty consistent familial component, and we don't really see that with AJ and Stephanie. That was just interesting for me to see, and I didn't know if anybody else noticed it, so let me know if you do. But we see AJ and Stephanie go to this boxing class, or was it, I don't remember, some type of exercise class, and Stephanie's all into it and AJ is not. And AJ, we know that AJ will let us know that he is not into it. The thing about AJ is it's really his way or the highway, and he will pretend and present as if he's flexible, but he's not. And one of the things that he says throughout that workout is, I know that, or something to the like of, marriage is about compromise, but I don't think this is one of the things that you compromise on. Okay, that is such an oxymoron, because a lot of the things that you compromise on are not necessarily your favorite thing to do. And if we flash back to the honeymoon, Keith wasn't a big exercise person at all, and Kristine dragged him to the gym on their honeymoon, and he was a good sport about it. Like, he ran, he didn't run as much as he wanted. He was just like, I don't really want to be here. But you could tell, but he was happy to do it for his new wife. Like, I will just do this. He didn't complain as much, but we see AJ getting very frustrated and getting a little short, and the saying that this isn't what you compromise on. Sure, you may not go to the gym 5 days a week with her and make that like your priority in your lifestyle, but compromise is the essence of compromise. Like, yes, I'll go to the gym with her, and I won't make a scene. He didn't make a scene, but he could have. It's, if you're gonna compromise, take ownership of that compromise and just do what it is that you compromise to do. Don't kind of hold it over your partner's head. And I could see AJ doing that if he has to be pushed long term, but I don't think he can be pushed because he's just not willing to be that flexible. We watched them have dinner together and talk about some of their concerns, and that conversation was very telling. AJ spoke most of the time, no surprise there, and Stephanie was very present, eye contact, sitting still, engaged. And then when she started voicing her concerns, that's when he got hungry. That's when he wanted to start eating his food and grabbing into her food and almost dropped a shrimp or whatever it was, and kind of missed what she was saying, and she had to stop and start again. And that was really frustrating, because that body language is telling me that what you're saying is not that important, or it's not as important as what I had to say. And she really had to fight through to say, some of your dynamic of getting upset and how you get upset and frustrated, it's concerning to me. And I'm glad that she got it out, because when he started rumbling around eating, I didn't think that she'd be able to get it out. But, in true Stephanie fashion, she wasn't as direct as we'd all hoped that she was, but I'm glad that she said this is a concern. But because he doesn't want to hear the concern, he kind of checks out. Like, okay, this is great, we'll be fine, that's not a big deal. And he even says something, and this is how so great he is at presenting himself. He even says, you've seen me at my worst, and alludes to the fact that she would never see that level of him again. False. If you don't have that level, she won't see it. So the fact that you have it, she saw it, and he can't say that she won't see it again, because that's not accurate. Clearly, he shows a lack of control in his anger and ability for conflict. So that was another, I don't know if he does sales, but that gave me such sales when he says, and you won't really see that again, or something to the effect of that, because it was almost like selling himself. Like, I know you saw this, I know that's something that concerns you because I'm aware, but here it won't happen again, but it very much will happen again. So Stephanie kind of shared her concerns. I think that they'll stay together for decision day. I don't see either one of them saying no. I worry about the longevity of their relationship, though, because I don't think it was just all about the cameras. Yes, the cameras added some sort of stress component, but they added that to everybody. Everyone who's been on a show. How is it that you get to act out? So I think that if it's not the cameras, it'll be something else. And like Stephanie says, one of her concerns is, how are we going to handle this when we don't have the help? When we don't have someone to bounce this off of, or someone to redirect you as best as they can and shed a light on what's happening, what do we do? And clearly she doesn't feel comfortable enough to challenge him in that way. So she's right to be concerned, and I question the longevity of their relationship. So, but I think they'll stay together. So that is Stephanie and AJ. Keith and Kristine. So Keith meets with his uncle. You can tell that Keith is completely smitten. He just seems like a genuinely good guy. Yes, he has his shortcomings. I mean, everyone does. He wasn't, on paper, I think, a lot of what Kristine was looking for, but he tries. He's genuine. He seems to really care about her. I think he loves her, to be honest. I think he's just scared to say that. And his uncle asks him, do you love her? And he says, I love her. I'm working on the E, but I think he does. I think it's just, we've all had that moment where it's it happens before you actually say it and before you realize it sometimes. Love isn't this thing that you decide on a Tuesday. So I think he already loves her. I think Kristine has stronger feelings for him than she cares to admit. I think she's kind of scared because this is not the setup that she was looking for. And so to fall in love with that is to fall in love with a lot of unknown. And as we have seen, she's very regimented in how things are supposed to go, when they're supposed to happen, how they're supposed to happen. And so I think that she cares about him more. And I think that's why we've been getting this mixed signal from her. Because the last few weeks I've been like, what is she thinking? What is she feeling? She was so smitten at the beginning. And then all of a sudden I didn't get that vibe from her. But when they're together, their chemistry is very positive. So I think she's kind of just in her head and just a little apprehensive about what's next and what does that really look like when the cameras go off. But I think they'll stay together as well. I think they have potential. I think, you know, they weren't necessarily each other's match if they would have picked somebody out and said, this is what I want. But I think they are a great example of, you know, not your match working out for you. But they have stuff to work on. All he needs to do is really focus on his goals, pump the brakes on the babies. She needs to just work on what she's working on, continue to be flexible because she can be quite regimented, and they just need to work together as a unit. But I think they have some real potential. I think they're the only couple that really does in real life to me. So I think they'll stay together. So that is Keith and Kristine. Last but not least, we have Luke and Kate. Luke and Kate continue to be Luke and Kate, and anybody who watches the show understands what I just said. They are mixedmessages.com. Like, there's nothing that's authentic. The only authentic thing is how desperate it seems Kate is. And I don't mean that in like a judgmental way. I just mean it in a sad way. Like, she's so desperate to make this work. And she meets with her friends. And I love that her two girlfriends say, you know, this isn't you. This is not who we knew before you got married. You don't seem like yourself. You don't seem happy. We are concerned about you. That's hard to say sometimes to a friend. But they say it like that. We don't really get, like, what is it about him, you know? And she finds herself in a position of trying to explain what's good about him. And it doesn't really translate. I think she says something like she got to know him in a way, but it's never really very specific. But there are very obvious specific reasons that it won't work. You know, they know that he has requested her to hide stuff and not say things on camera and hide a lot of their relationship. And they bring up the drinking again, how he drinks as much as she does. There's alcohol in the fridge. He eggs her on. So if he's really concerned about her drinking, would that be something that would that he would do? Would he not keep her from drinking if that was a concern, or not drink around her? And they basically said that they feel that he's stifling her, that she's kind of like a flower without sun. She's not blossoming. She's kind of folding into herself and getting very dark and just not really who she is authentically. And I'm glad that they said that, because somebody had to say it. And she already knows it deep down. And I think what frustrates me with Kate is she knows it, and he dangles a carrot and she goes for it. And that's a choice at this point. I mean, if we think about it, there's not years of history or a long history between them where there could be this deep-seated emotional bond. There is, and her friend said it perfectly, I want to make sure that you like him and not the idea of him, because that's exactly what it is for Kate. She likes the idea of him, but if she really looked at the way he's acted with her, towards her, I don't think she would be questioning divorce. And she knows that that's what she wants, but then they have this awkward dinner. He's super condescending in the way that he's like, like she'll say, you know, you say that you don't like me. Like, it's very like unconcerned, unbothered, dismissive. But then he follows up. It's almost like, you know, when I was watching this episode, I was thinking, God, there's got to be a reason why he's sticking around. Like, I don't know what it is, but the vibe is that there's a reason why he's sticking around. So when he sees the ship sinking, he like plugs the hole up real quick with a, you know, I care about you, or there are things I do find attractive about you. Like, if you have to say that to someone, there are things I do find attractive about you, that's a red flag, because they should already know. And we see her again ask, like, what? And I want to work on this marriage. I do care about you. You know, I don't want a divorce. It's almost like let me do whatever I want, but then let me say these things because at least she can hear me say them, even though I know it's incongruent. Like, you can see Kate and see the incongruency in what she's hearing versus what she feels, but she's just so desperate for it to work and for the possibility of it becoming this thing. I think she even says something like, what crazy of a love story it would be for them to start the way that they started and end up somewhere else. It's not going to happen. And we just see him throw a bone and she catches it and they move on, and it's awful. They're not going to stay together. I don't see them staying together. I see, if she says she wants to stay together, which I don't know, I'm 50-50 on her because she's recognizing a lot now, but she's not doing any different. So I don't know what she'll say. I don't see him wanting to stay together. And if by some sort of miracle they do, which I doubt, it's not long term because none of it is real. Like, none of it is real for them. So that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys thought. Comments, give me your predictions. And don't forget to subscribe, click the notification bell so you can find out when I post these videos. And I will be chatting with you guys throughout the week. Everyone have a great week.